I've been having the hardest time making this video because it's a really important topic, and yet I don't seem to be able to think of a way to convey the importance of the topic. And that's the difference between learning the truth and handling the truth. In my opinion, it's an entirely different skill set that's necessary to learn the truth compared to what's necessary to handle the truth. And if you don't react properly when you learn the truth and don't handle that information correctly, then it didn't really do any good to learn it in the first place. So in my opinion, handling the truth is just as important, if not more important, than learning it in the first place. So in a way, this one video is potentially more important than all the other ones of mine that you'll see, and yet it's kind of a dull topic, and I don't know how to make it interesting, and so I've really been struggling with this video, and I just want to get it out of the way so I can move on to more interesting topics. In my opinion, there are two skills that really help a lot in handling the truth, and that is patience and focus. A lot of people, when they learn the truth, they will soon go back to blocking it out again or forgetting about it, because they don't see any simple way to adjust to what they've learned or incorporate it into their lives in a useful way, and so they don't want to just know about a problem and not do anything, and so they block it out. Having patience, though, can help people to recognize that you don't have to solve everything at once. Your life is probably pretty good the way it is, and you can just be happy with that, and if you can incorporate changes that will improve your life based on new information that you learn, that's great. But if you aren't able to make changes right now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not really a reason to completely forget about some truth that you know or some problem that you're aware of in the back of your mind. Other than the topics I cover in the two child raising videos, I don't know of any information that I give in my videos that is really critical to immediately adapt to. If you have patience, you'll take time to network and find solutions in a logical and orderly way, whereas if you try to adapt to things quickly, I find that many people don't do as good a job. Along the lines of networking, by the way, I set up a discussion group under this YouTube account, which someday people may find provides a better forum for discussing issues in greater detail and discussing regional solutions to various topics. Also, along the lines of taking a break from too many heavy topics, I'm going to open up another YouTube account which is creatively called Lorax 2014, where I'll post some videos that aren't quite as serious. Okay, back to handling the truth. Another thing that people do to avoid dealing with the truth is not to forget about it or block it out, but to simply become sort of self-righteous and complain about the problem rather than actually doing anything to fix the problem. That's why you'll see so many videos and articles out there exposing various problems and complaining about them, but not actually making any suggestions where people can overcome those problems. And I think a lot of people fall into this trap of simply becoming aware of problems, complaining about them endlessly, feeling that nothing can be done until society is awakened and society is as enlightened as they are. It may be a lot easier to complain and feel self-righteous about problems, but in my opinion it really doesn't do much to solve them. That's why in most of my videos I try to give personal solutions, because I feel that almost any problem you can somehow find a way to free yourself from that problem, and once you've freed yourself you serve as an example to the rest of society, and that's really the way to free all of society, not just to complain about something. Now this last part's going to be maybe the hardest for some people to hear. This is where focus comes in, because in my opinion another big mistake that many people make is due to a lack of focus. And it's also another way to avoid actually having to deal with a problem. And for lack of a better term, I'll call this flying off the handle. There's a saying that human reason is like a drunk man on a horse. You prop him up on one side and he falls off on the other. A lot of people, when they finally learn that they've been lied to about some important topic, they fly to the opposite extreme and become distracted by wild speculation rather than focusing on what they do know and putting in the work to implement a solution. For example, you may have finally learned that the standard American diet isn't healthy and has a lot of toxins in it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you know that eating only fruit and distilled water is healthy. You may have finally learned about peak oil. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the end of all society. Focus on the most likely scenarios and what you do know and how you can adapt. A lot of people, when they learn about how the banking industry subtly steals everyone's money, they think there's some massive conspiracy behind it. Well, you don't really know that, but what you do know is how the banking industry inflates currency and steals from you that way, and you do know how to stop that. So focus on what you do know. It doesn't really make any difference who's behind it. All you have to do is focus on a solution. Same thing with religion. Just because organized religion sometimes covers up and hides the truth doesn't mean that you know the solution is extreme atheism. Focus on what you do know. If organized religion is negatively impacting you in some way, then learn what that is and stop that negative impact. I know it's often a lot more fun to engage in wild speculation or to take extreme positions rather than focusing on what you do know and putting in the work to find a solution. But at some point, in order to learn the truth, it becomes necessary to focus. If you constantly become distracted by wild phantasms, you'll never really be able to make that much progress down the path of learning the truth. These issues that I've covered in my videos so far are relatively unknown to most people, but they're still just kind of the beginning. And if you don't learn to train your mind to focus correctly, in my opinion, it becomes almost impossible to make progress on even deeper, more hidden truths.